All right, looks like we're live. Nobody's joined yet, but I'll go ahead and start talking. You may wonder why you see in the thumbnail of the video why I'm holding up a thermometer. By the way, it reads 99 degrees out here, so you know, if you're wondering how warm it is, it's actually dropping though. We've got a little bit of a storm front moving in, so I'm hoping that I don't have to run for cover here pretty quick, but we're going to try to keep this video going as long as I can, and hopefully some people join here pretty quick. Hey, there's 4 people logged in here real quick. How's everybody doing this evening? I'm trying to get logged into it myself so I can watch the chat. Oh, and I hope the storm holds off. You may not be able to see that behind me or hear the thunder, but it's starting to rumble a little bit back there. Let's kill this mic. There we go. All right. Nobody's talking. We got 11 people in there. Hey, there's a couple of people. All right. Hey, there is that Damien and Sunny. I hope I'm saying that right. Diugs, maybe. I'm not sure who that is. And Redhead, is that Red Honey, right? Red Honey Homestead. Hey there. Sorry if I have to look away. I have to see the chat down here. I can't see it on here very well. All right. You have a question for me already. Go ahead. Hello there, Carson. I'm in Southwest Missouri. Want to know what state I'm in? I'm in Southwest Missouri, Joplin, actually. If you've ever heard of Joplin, Missouri, that's where I live. Hello there. Is it Goggleby? I don't know. Damien, you're in South Texas. I used to live in Deep East Texas. I lived in Nacogdoches for a while. Alan, you finally got to see your first Coturnix quail in real life today. They're huge compared with button quail. Yes, they are much bigger than button quail for sure. All right, while we're waiting for questions and things to roll in, I thought I might talk a little bit about what kind of thermometer you want to use in your incubator. I've been getting a whole lot of that lately. Hello in Greece there, George. Oh, is that Caligomir? I'm not sure how to pronounce that, if I'm getting it right or not. Your quail haven't started laying yet. Remind me again here in a minute. We'll talk about that. Okay, before I get into questions, I want to talk about thermometers. This is the kind of thermometer I use in my incubators to kind of calibrate with the built-in thermometer in the incubator. It's just a standard meat thermometer, like a probe meat thermometer, but it's got a dial on it. Let me get that up real close here. Turn it around so it's right side up. Hopefully, there you go. And the important thing to know about this is that it goes all the way down to 0 degrees. A lot of times you get these meat thermometers and they only go down to like 100 degrees. You really need it to go all the way down to 0 degrees. This one's pretty nice because it's got that mark right there that tells where the freezing temperature is. And it's got that mark right there that tells where the boiling point is. And that's how you calibrate the thermometer. If you don't know that already, basically you stick this in a vat of boiling water, just stick it down in a pot of boiling water, measure where it measures and how much of a difference there is. Let's say it comes in at 200 and, like the boiling point on this is 216 degrees. So if it comes in at 205, then you know it's 11 degrees off from being, you know, it's 11 degrees low. Then you're going to measure out where it comes, sticking in a glass of ice water with a bunch of ice in it. Leave it in there until it comes down and stabilizes. And it should read pretty close to the freezing mark, which is 32 degrees. You're going to measure where that comes in. So if it comes in at, let's say 40 degrees, you know that's 5 degrees off. Add the two together, you know that it's 16 degrees off, or whatever, if my math is right. Divide that by 2, so that would be 8 degrees, and that's how much you need to adjust this down to get it to equal out, to be calibrated. I didn't do a very good job of explaining that. I'll do another video on that. But this is how you adjust it. It's just a nut on the back here, and when you turn that, I'm not going to turn it right now, but when you turn that, the needle turns. So you can just adjust the temperature down or up or whatever to calibrate your thermometer. I'll do another video on that, a whole video dedicated to calibrating thermometers, but had a couple of questions about thermometers this week. Thought I'd just kind of chat about that real quick. Okay, so back to this. All right, so who said that? Your quail haven't started laying yet, that? Okay, I don't know how old they are. Is that Caliga? Maybe I'm getting that right, hopefully. Don't know how old your quail are, but just give them some time. As long as you've got them on good quail feed, you know, 28%, 25% or higher protein, you're giving them plenty. Cali Gamer, okay, that makes more sense. You're giving them plenty of light, 14 hours a day or more, and they're about 8 weeks old or older, they should start laying any day now. Now, if you've moved them around a whole lot, that causes some stress, and that can delay the laying just a little bit. Consequently, how's my sound? Am I screaming into the microphone? Do I need to quiet down? Or oh, sorry. Got distracted by the kids screaming. I thought it was tornado sirens going off. So if you know anything about Joplin, you know about the terrible tornado we had about 5-6 years ago. So we really pay attention to tornado sirens when they go off anymore. Good sound. Okay. Thank you very much. I want to make sure I'm not yelling. I have a tendency to talk kind of loud sometimes. Okay, so Sunny V, you're asking, how long would you leave the hatched chicks in the incubator before removing them out to prevent damage to the unhatched eggs? They don't really damage the unhatched eggs. I know it's kind of nerve-wracking with them all running around there. A couple of things you can do is lay some paper over the windows so it's dark in there. Don't cover up the vent holes, but that'll keep them a little bit calmer so they won't be quite as rambunctious. You can leave them in there up to 3 days. I usually go about 48 hours, and then I'll remove all the ones that have hatched already that are dry, and wait and see if any more hatch at that point. So hopefully that helps out a little bit on that. Okay, Sunny V, you're asking to add a link for that thermometer. I'll try to remember to do that after this video's over. Go post a link down below. It will probably be an affiliate link, because hey, why shouldn't I make $1 or $2 if you're going to go buy something? It wouldn't even be $1 or $2, it'd be like 25 cents probably. But either way, if you're going to buy something through the link, I might make $1 or $2 off that, or 50 cents or 25 cents. If that offends you, go search it out on your own. But if not, then use my links below. I'll try to remember to do that for you. All right, what else we got here? Carson, you're asking, is it Carson? Oh boy, I'm going to mispronounce your last name. Labier, hopefully I got that right. You say your quail aren't laying. You changed the feed 2 weeks ago to starter, and you have them 8 weeks and they have enough light. I just don't understand why they have not been laying yet. They'll start any day now. Probably about the time you complain about this on my video and I'm giving you advice on it, you go out there tomorrow, you're probably going to have eggs. Sometimes they're just a little bit late in getting to it. For whatever reason, nobody knows exactly why. You should start getting eggs any day now. Just be patient. They'll probably come a little bit sporadically for a couple of days. You might get 1, 2 eggs, 3 eggs. The next day maybe 1. The next day 5 or 6. The next day 2 or 3. And then after about a week or 2 of that, then they'll be pretty consistent probably at that point. So just be patient, hang in there, you're going to get them. All right, what else we got? How long can a female store sperm for fertile eggs from successful mating? This is Gogglebee. Hopefully I'm getting that right as well. Yeah, that's a good question, actually. How long can a female stay fertile after she's been mated? They can stay fertile up to 11 days. You know, I really wouldn't push it probably more than about 8, 9, something like that. But that's a good point you can bring up, because that's one way that you can kind of keep your rooster counts down, especially if you're, you know, really sick of them crowing and making all kinds of crazy noise. If you've got a couple of sets of females, you can just rotate the rooster back about every 5-6 days, and he's going to keep all of them fertile all the time, and you don't need nearly as many roosters. So hopefully that helps answer that question. All right, what else we got here? Unruly Kennel asks, I think you mean I bred my rabbit with a Flemish Giant, and it's a New Zealand White. Okay, I don't know if that's a question or just a statement. I've done the same kind of thing with mine. I bred Flemish Giant cross with a New Zealand White. Had pretty good babies. They grew out really, really slow. I've got a Flemish Giant mix right now that I'm going to try again with and see if it was just that one rabbit or not. So who knows? Okay, so 6 Count Family's asking or stating that you've heard people adding solar lights to help attract insects into the quail pens, or what are my thoughts on that? Man, why not? Yeah, I have solar lights on my quail pens. I don't know how many bugs they attract because I don't go out there and stare at them at night, but it keeps them laying. It gives them enough light to keep laying on a regular basis, and if it draws some bugs in and they go after them and eat them, then why not? Definitely do it. I think it's a great idea. I sometimes grab some bugs and throw them in the cage for them, and they'll eat them occasionally. Most of the time they end up falling through the floor before the birds actually get them eaten, but sometimes they will get them eaten. How many rabbits do I have? Right now I've only got the 3 rabbits. I've got the California Buck male, I've got my Silver Fox doe, and I've got the Flemish Giant mixed doe. That's my newest rabbit. I'll start breeding again here in about a month and a half or so, and then I'll have a lot more rabbits coming up pretty quick. All right, Caleb Witchy says, yes, you asked last week about pastured rabbits as Joe Saladin's way, and that's when the podcast got cut off. What's your thoughts again? Okay, good question about that. Let me just say, first of all, again, if this gets cut short, I'm sorry about that. I'm doing the best to optimize my internet connection. Don't know why it got cut off last week. I could not figure that out. It seemed to be working just fine, and then all of a sudden just dropped. And we were at a time frame where I just pretty much had to end it. So if it happens again, I apologize for that. That's not my intention. I'll try to end this cordially instead of just cutting you guys off. Okay, so I think I did answer it last week, but it must not have got filmed. I personally, pasturing rabbits, it's a lot of work for me, putting them in a cage, having to move them every couple of days, really fighting off the predators and those kinds of things when they're on the ground. Dogs, raccoons, all those kinds of things can kind of get a little bit more access to them. It's a lot of work for me. I am not discounting what Joe Saladin's doing, though. I think his work is fantastic. I really enjoy learning from him. He's got a lot to share, and if you guys aren't familiar with him, look him up. He's definitely worth following. He does a lot of really, really cool stuff. But just for me, in my personal situation with a full-time job, trying to run this YouTube channel, just getting married, all those kinds of things piled on, I don't have time to deal with those kinds of things. It's much easier for me to keep them in a cage system and just feed commercial pellets. That's just my personal opinion, though. All right, so what else we got? Unruly Kennel says, can you please repeat what you said about the rabbit? What did I say about the rabbit? I'm sorry, I'm well past that now. I said a lot of things about rabbits. I'm not sure what specifically you're asking. Okay, Taylor Sloan says, you have 3 rabbits, 2 bucks, and 1 doe. Can you breed them in the summer? Yeah, you can breed them in the summer if you want to. It kind of depends on where you live. I personally don't breed in the summer. It's awful hot here. I mean, you saw my thermometer at the beginning. It was like 99 degrees out right now, and it's like 7 o'clock at night, and the sun's starting to go down. The heat index today was well over 105. So it's just awful hot to me to be breeding rabbits. They really struggle with anything over about 85 degrees, and I don't want to put them through that stress of breeding them in the summertime. Lots of people do it, and it works just fine. I actually did a video on breeding rabbits in the summertime, about 2 weeks ago, I think. You might go check that out and see. I showed off kind of like what nest box you would need. It's an all-wire nest box. I've got a link on how to build that and all that kind of stuff. So you might go check that video out and see what you think of that. All right. Taylor, okay, you said you have 3 rabbits, 2 bucks. Can I breed in the summer? Okay, was that the question you had, Taylor, or was there something else? Or wait, who was it that said repeating? Unruly Kennel, you're the one that said to repeat what I said about rabbits. I'm still not sure what you need me to repeat. Let me know, and I'll be happy to do that. Okay, I suggested rotating male quail from pen to pen. I thought that was a bad idea. Will it stress the females? You know, it can stress them just a little bit, but I don't really find that it makes that big of a difference on their egg laying. I assume that's what you're talking about. Will it stress them to where they stop laying eggs for a little while? I don't really find that that's the case. It doesn't seem to bother them all that much. I've done some rotating of males around, and it doesn't ever seem to, the females never stop laying eggs. They just keep on laying, not that big of a deal. And again, you're only talking like 1 male. Now what you may run into is if you've got like 5 females in a pen, they're all comfortable with each other, and you throw that male in there, they may gang up on him and beat him up pretty good. You may have to watch that. But that really hasn't been that big of an issue for me either, especially if you're rotating them out about every 5 or 6 days. It's like they kind of remember him, they're familiar with him, so he seems to just get in there just fine. It's no big deal. All right, would being with doves affect laying? Would quail being with doves affect laying? Maybe. I've never tried to put doves with quail. I would assume it might affect the laying a little bit, at least initially, until they get kind of comfortable and familiar with the surroundings, and then they'd probably pick it right back up. But I'm not sure that there's... You don't want to keep quail with chickens. There are some diseases that can really spread from chickens to quail. I don't know if there's any kind of disease with dove that you would have to worry about. They're pretty closely related, so I'm really not sure. All right, what else we got? That's all the questions for now? Nope, there's another one. Oh, okay. Unruly Kennel's clarifying this question from earlier. His or her, I'm not sure if you're a his or a her, about the Flemish Giant mix and the New Zealand babies not growing out very fast. That's your question you wanted me to repeat about. Yeah, I had a Flemish Giant mix rabbit that I bred with my California buck, actually. I said New Zealand, didn't I? California buck. And the babies grew out incredibly slow. It took them about 14 weeks to get to butcher weight. They were adorable, though. I mean, just the cutest little baby rabbits, hard to butcher. I mean, I'll tell you what, that was the hardest time I've ever had dispatching a rabbit, was those little bunnies right there. But they just grew out too slow, and it didn't work out well for me. But I don't know if it was that specific rabbit. I've got another one right now that's a Flemish Giant cross. I'm going to try breeding it. We'll see if that holds true for this rabbit as well. All right, Ellen Bloomfield says, being in with cockatiels does seem to make the buttons more nervous. I can imagine it would, but cockatiels are quite a bit bigger than a button quail, so that may have something to do with it too, the size difference. Again, you may have to worry about some kind of disease being spread between the birds as well, whether it's from the quail to the cockatiel or the cockatiel to the quail. I'm just really not sure about that. Oh, get a drink here. It's hot out. All right, where would I suggest to look? This is 6-count family. Where would I suggest to look for a reputable meat rabbit breeder? You know, look on Craigslist, honestly. You can probably find plenty of good meat rabbits around there. If you're looking for like pedigree rabbits, you might look up the American Rabbit Breeders Association and see if there are any rabbit breeders in your area. I did find my very first rabbit I ever bought, I found through them, and it was somebody that was here locally, and it was like a prize-winning New Zealand white buck, and he won some kind of best in meat class prize at the county fairs and all those kinds of things, and I think I spent $30 on that rabbit. He was fine. I mean, he worked out just fine. I'll tell you what, he was not friendly. He was not easy to handle. He was very shy, very skittish. He worked out okay, but he wasn't anything special in my book. The babies came off just like they do off my California buck right now that I spent $10 on. So it's, I don't know. You can definitely look there. It is a good idea, though, to get purebred rabbits because I do find that they tend to be, whether they're pedigree or not, but they're purebred New Zealand white, purebred California, or whatever, they do tend to grow out quite a bit faster, and you just get more successful litters, bigger litters off of them, and all of those things. All right, where am I at now? Carson asks again. I'm not even going to try to pronounce your last name again because I think I probably got it wrong the first time. But, excuse me, Carson says, they seem to be fine with each other. The quail have a house, only they can get in. You're back to talking about keeping them with doves. Okay, sorry, I'm losing track here. I got all these people talking. Yeah, keeping your quail with dove, you're saying that you're trying that right now. They seem to be doing fine together. You've got a little house that the quail can get into to get away from the doves can't get into. Sounds like a nice setup. Let us know how that's going and if you experience any kind of issues. I have no experience with that, so I can't really tell you. All right, a little bit of a lull in comments here. The other topic I was going to talk about today had a viewer, and I've had this question a lot lately, about controlling humidity in your incubator, basically getting humidity up. They filled all the water channels in their incubator, and it's still only reading like 45% humidity. A couple of things. First of all, you probably don't need to stress about that all that much. Until you get to lockdown, the humidity is not that big of a deal. I'm experimenting with some dry hatching right now to see how that works out, and I don't know. Again, I'm not really convinced that the humidity before lockdown is really all that big of a deal. But with that being said, if you do need to raise humidity, remember that humidity is controlled by surface area, not volume. So in other words, you've got my soda can here. This much water in a cylinder like this is not going to produce as much humidity as this much water if it was laid out in a tray this long, because there's more surface area for the water to evaporate, and that's what's going to raise your humidity levels. So if you're having problems with your humidity being too low, a couple of things you can do is you can actually cut the styrofoam between the channels. Like in your bottom of your incubator, you've got channel runs here, a channel that runs there, and a channel run there. There's a styrofoam wall between them. You can just cut that out so it becomes like one channel instead of 2 or 3 different channels. That'll give you more surface area. If you don't, now make sure you be careful. There's holes usually in there. Leave those there, and you need to still have a brace for your grate that sits on top to sit on. So don't just hollow out the bottom of your incubator and have the grate fall down and sink into the water. But you can leave them kind of like pillars there where those are to hold that grate up. But that'll increase your surface level a little bit. You can also add sponges. Just soak a sponge in water, wring it out enough to where it's not dripping wet, but it's still wet. And then put that in your incubator. off to the side where it's not sitting on the eggs or whatever, there's a whole lot of surface area there because you got all those little pores and all those little crevices and all that kind of stuff. Brings a whole lot of surface area to that, and that can raise your humidity in your incubator as well. You'll probably have to have an extra sponge on hand because it's going to dry out pretty quick. You'll need to probably replace it like every day or every other day at least, but that can help with getting humidity up as well. So if you're having problems with that, that's an idea on that. Okay, got a couple of comments to answer. All right, let's see. Unruly Kennel asks, will the baby get big as the Flemish Giant? You know, if you let them go long enough, they probably would. Well, I don't think they'll get as big as a Flemish Giant because they're a cross, so they'll probably be, you know, probably pretty close to as big as the New Zealand White, which is still a pretty good sized rabbit. I don't know, I didn't let mine go that long. When they got up to about 4 or 5 pounds, they went into the freezer because that's what they were. They were a meat run. So I really can't tell you how big they would have gotten in the end. All right, let's see. We've got Thomas's Poultry Collection. Says, are earthworms good for quail? Well, I don't know that they're great for quail, but there's nothing wrong with them. If you got earthworms, you want to feed them to your quail, go for it. I think they're pretty high in protein, so they probably should be. I don't see any problem with it. If they'll eat them, there's no problem with feeding earthworms. You can feed mealworms, you can feed just about any kind of insect that they'll eat. You could pretty much feed to them. You don't want to go so overboard with that to where all you're feeding them is earthworms, because they do need that other stuff in their diet as well. But yeah, earthworms are fine. Nothing wrong with them. Then we've got Gogolby again asking, Go Gilby. Okay, you spelled your name out for me. Thank you very much for that. I'm terrible with coming up with the pronunciations here. You said you only have a small cage. How many females per male would you put together without overbreeding the females? I like to go about 1 to 4, 1 to 5 on my male to female ratio. I find if I go much lower than that, like 1 to 3 or 1 to 2, the females get overbred. They're just constantly bald, all the feathers pulled off their head. And if I go too much over that, then I have problems with fertility. So about 1 to 4, 1 to 5, somewhere right around in there is good. Excuse me. All right, so Unruly Kennel, you're saying you're going to sell, oh, you're going to sell your rabbits. You're going to sell your baby rabbits because you live in Jamaica. Always wanted to visit Jamaica. If I come down there, I'll have to hit you up. You'll have to show me around. All right, Thomas's Poultry Collection wants to know also, can you feed chicken laying mash to your quail? Yeah, you can feed chicken laying mash. Pretty much anything you can feed chickens, you can feed your quail as well. The thing I would look out for, and this is debated amongst a lot of people, in my personal opinion, again, this isn't, you know, the Bible of all quail raising, but in my personal opinion, I think quail need a little higher protein than what the chicken laying mash provides. It's usually somewhere around 18% protein, 17% protein, and I like to keep my quail on 25, 26% protein or higher. Right now, I just feed 30% quail starter to all my birds. I've got a local feed mill here that sells it for $15 for a 50-pound bag. It's a pretty good deal. I go buy 3 bags at a time, store it up, and when I run low, I go buy 3 more bags, and that's what I feed all my quail. That goes to my babies, to my adults, all of them. They all get it. I don't do anything special to it. I don't mash it up. I don't crumble it for the babies, nothing. All right, let's see. And Brazy Chorus wants to know if I live in the West Coast. No, I live in southwest Missouri, which is kind of the Midwest, almost southern, but not quite southern. That's why I'm only slightly rednecked, I guess, instead of completely rednecked. All right, chat has kind of calmed down a little bit as well. How many people we got in here, by the way? 22 people. Thank you guys so much for joining these chats. I really enjoy interacting with my audience, and I just appreciate you guys spending your time with me. Hopefully these Thursday evenings, 7 o'clock, works out well. That's about the only time I have free to do these. And I'll continue to try to do these on a regular basis as long as I can be free to do them. All right, what else we got for this week? Is this going to be a short one? We're only, I don't know, 7:24. We're only 24 minutes in, and the chat has slowed down. Let's talk about, what do you guys have for video topic ideas? Anything you want to see me produce in the next coming weeks? Yeah, Sonny, you're asking about my dry incubation attempt. Yeah, I'll report back with the results from that and see how that went. And when I say dry incubation, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, basically I'm not adding any water to the incubator. It's just running on dry. My incubator, or my humidity right now is about 50% roughly. That's just the air humidity, and it's gonna be that way until I go into lockdown. When I go into lockdown, I will add water to the water channels, and I'll bump that up to about 70-75%. And I go into lockdown on I think next Thursday. I can't remember exactly, so we'll see. What are you saying there? Okay. 6 Count Family says you've kept your dog away from the quail, but have you ever experienced dogs scaring them? Well, if you've been following my channel for a while, you know a while back I had my dog actually break into the cage and eat about 12 quail. They were grow outs, and just about the time they were big enough for me to have for dinner, she just chewed right through the hardware cloth in the cage and ate all 12 of them. And then she just laid around and moaned for the next day and a half because it was a lot of food for her. Sadly, my dog has passed away since then, so I don't have any problems with my dog, with a dog. I don't even have a dog anymore. I will get another one soon, but I don't have one right now, so no problems with that. But yeah, they could scare them. They don't, you know, honestly, with the raised pins that I've got, you can see my pin back there. Dogs don't seem to bother the quail at all. They seem to be pretty calm and pretty mellow unless you're up like cage high with them. And the cats that roam the neighborhood and the dogs that roam the neighborhood, they don't seem to pay any attention to them. Doesn't seem to bother them. All right. Okay, you have to know, now that I am married, does my wife let me butcher quail in the kitchen sink? You know she does, and she actually helps me out with it. She will, she'll take a part of that. We form like an assembly line. I'll do the, you know, the initial culling, and I'll skin them, and then I'll take the guts out and I'll hand them to her, and she does the rest of the cleaning. Just kind of rinses them off, picks off any remaining feathers, puts them in a bowl to put in the fridge. So yeah, I picked a winner there. All right, what is the brand of my incubator? This is Rudy Collar. I think I got it right. I'm using a Little Giant incubator right now. If you're looking to buy a new incubator, I hear really good things about the Hovabators. So if this one goes on the fritz, then I'm going to probably go with a Hovabator. I will tell you guys, Little Giant's great customer service. I had my thermostat go out on me, and it was like, it wouldn't shut off. It was, I mean, it was just going non-stop. It was up to 160 degrees, I think, inside the incubator. And I called Miller Manufacturing, which is the company that makes Little Giant, and I had like a new thermostat sent to me in like 3 days. They didn't even ask me like when I bought it, how long it had been, or any of that kind of stuff. I think it was still in warranty, I'm not sure, but they didn't ask. I just told them the problem. They sent me a brand new thermostat, real easy to switch out a couple of screws, take the old one out, a couple of screws, put the new one in. Works great, so that's good. All right, your dog thinks quail should be single-use squeaky toys. This has come from Ellen Bloomfield. Well, my dog did too. She really liked the quail. Yeah, really liked them. She would always try to eat them when they got out. My wife is awesome, 6 Count Family. That's why I married her. I'll tell her you said that, though. We've done a couple of videos together. This is still 6 Count Family wanting to know if my wife is going to get involved in the videos. We've done a few videos together where we announced when we were getting married back, that was Valentine's Day last year. We did some videos on what we did for like premarital counseling and some of those things through the church. Did a few of those kinds of things. We're working, we've talked about it, trying to get some kind of vlog style videos together. Not sure if we should do it as part of this channel, start another channel, what we're going to make our topics on. We're working on all that. Maybe someday we'll get that going. It's just been incredibly busy here lately. So, who knows? We'll see if we can get her involved in some more videos coming up. My rabbits, this is one bad boy too, okay? How are my rabbits is what you're asking. They're doing fine. It's hot, so they just lay around the cage all day, get up at night, that's when they eat. But pretty much they don't do anything all day long. They're just relaxing and trying to stay cool right now. All right, Unruly Kennel's saying that your New Zealand white had 9 babies in June and the baby died, so you bred her back 4 weeks after that. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. All the babies died off that first litter, though. That's something to kind of keep an eye on. Could have been any number of reasons, but if it happens again, then it probably means you need to start looking for a replacement rabbit. That's not good mothering skills. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. Hopefully you don't have problems. Sometimes, if it was a first-time mom especially, it's not uncommon for them to have problems with that first litter. So don't stress about it too much. Just keep an eye on it. If it continues to happen, save yourself the headaches. Get another rabbit. All right, let's see. James Johnson says, you have a quail that keeps laying soft eggs. Any ideas? Okay, first things first. Whenever you get a soft egg, if you post that online in a chicken group, a quail group, whatever, they're almost always going to come back and tell you, add calcium to it. That's the first thing they're going to say. That's not always the case. In fact, that's very seldom the case. Quail need about 1.5 to 2% calcium in their diet. If you look at your feed sack, it should tell you about what it averages, the calcium level of the feed that you're giving them. And as long as it's around that 1.5 to 2% range, they're fine. Anything much more than that can actually cause problems, make your egg cells too thick and cause problems with your hatch rates. So you really don't want to add a lot of calcium. I would ask you, how do you know it's the same quail? Quail lay soft-shelled eggs just off and on all the time. It's probably not the same bird. It's probably just one of the birds laying a soft-shell egg every once in a while. And especially if they're young, if they just started laying, pretty common. You're going to run into those things. Don't stress about it. Give it some time. It usually clears itself right up. So hopefully that helps. All right, so what do we got? Want me to do a tour of the garden, my pets, etc. on the next live stream? I might do that. I'll have to do that on the phone because my Wi-Fi does not stretch all the way out there, so we take a risk of it getting disconnected. But I might try to do that, and honestly, the garden doesn't look all that great. I was gone for a couple of weeks and just didn't do anything to it, and it's kind of, a lot of the stuff is done and starting to die off, but heck, why not show it off anyway? We'll show you what. I'm one of those gardeners where I tend to not really stress about that too much. I've got a problem with squirrels right now. They're getting most... startled me. Train at the train station over there a little ways. What was I saying? Oh, squirrels getting all my tomatoes, eating a lot of my vegetables right now. And honestly, a lot of them look pretty sickly. But hey, why not? We'll walk around next time, try to do a tour of the garden. Remind me I said that, and I'll try to get that done. All right. Can I raise quail in the basement? Sure, you can raise quail wherever you want to. If you want to raise them in the basement, the one things I'd be worried about right there is making sure that you have enough light and enough ventilation. You're gonna have to clean those out quite a bit. Have some kind of dropping pans under there that you take out and clean out on a fairly regular basis. Invest in leak-free watering because quail droppings dry are not that bad, but when they get wet, wow. That's pretty bad. So really invest in some way to keep the quail dry. I like those water cups, which I don't have any handy to show you, but the ones with the little plungers in them where they peck at them to let the water out, those do a pretty good job of keeping everything dry. And just like I said, you're going to need plenty of ventilation. So if you've got a window you can open down there or something to let the air in, that's a good idea. I think it's, is this Isabel saying wet like human waste smell? No, I think it's way worse than human waste smell. Wet quail droppings are about one of the worst smells on the planet, in my opinion. All right, I'm losing some questions here or some comments, so if I missed your comment, I'm sorry. This is Diug63, says today is 17 for you. It's your first time incubating, waiting for the first one to peep. Hey, hang in there. I know that's tough. Give them a day or two. Chances are you'll get up in the morning, they'll just, boom, they'll be out. They'll be hatched. So hang in there. Good luck with your hatch. Hopefully it works out well. Unruly Kennel saying it was a frat time mom. I'm not sure what that means by your rabbit was a frat time mom. First time. I bet you mean first time. It's probably an autocorrect. Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, like I said, if it's a first time mom and her baby's died, it's probably just she hasn't learned her mothering skills yet. Don't stress about it. Give her another chance. If it happens again, start being a little bit concerned at that point. I usually don't let them go more than 3 tries, and I'm done with that rabbit. Get her out of my herd, get a new rabbit in. 6 Count Family says, you saw my video that I replace my birds once a year. How often do you find yourself cleaning out the quail cages? Well, you've seen my quail cages probably back there. I just let the droppings fall to the ground, and it's, you know, it's a little ways from my house, so it's not like right up next to the house or anything. But honestly, it's really, even over there by them, it's not that bad. The flies, I mean, there's some flies around it. Not that bad, as long as I keep it dry. I'm trying out some new water cups right now that are leaking quite a bit. They're just splashing water everywhere, and it just stays pretty consistently wet right under there. That smells pretty bad, and it's drawing the flies in a lot more than it ever has before, so I'm going to have to get that fixed. But as far as cleaning that out, I do that once, I don't know, once every 6 months or so. Usually in the fall when it cools off, I shovel it all out, throw it in the compost bins, and then maybe again in the spring after I've emptied the compost bins out, put them all in the garden, I'll throw the quail manure in there again. And it's just as much to get my compost going as it is to clean it out from underneath the hutches. It's really not that bad out there. I mean, it piles up. I've got it about that deep, but it doesn't smell that bad. It's really not that bad. All right, what else we got here? Sonny's saying you wanted some idea on fall, winter planting. You're talking about the garden again, back to what you can plant in the fall and the winter time. I did a video maybe it's a year and a half ago on low tunnels, cheap low tunnels. And, you know, I'm in southwest Missouri. It's zone 6B. It gets pretty cold in the wintertime. We get snow. Not a lot of it, but we do get snow. And it's not uncommon for it to be down to be 20 degrees below zero even, for days or a week or two at a time before we get a warm spell that warms us back up. It's pretty cold in the wintertime. And I put these little cheap low tunnels. I made them out of PVC pipe. I just stuck some rebar in the ground, bent some PVC pipe over it, and then strung some like 6 mil plastic, clear plastic over that, and clamped it down with some cheap clamps. And I grew spinach. You're going to think of cold hardy plants, so it's going to be your greens: lettuce, spinach, cauliflower, broccoli. Onions would probably grow there. Garlic does well. You usually plant garlic in the fall and let it go all winter long, and then you're harvesting it late the next summer. I actually have garlic I need to harvest now, but I haven't done that. Maybe I'll do a video on harvesting garlic and growing garlic. Who knows? Anyway, so back to that. Those greens. So anyway, my point to that is I planted those. You want to get them planted before your first freeze, so like about 6 weeks, maybe 4 weeks or so before your first freeze date. Ours around here is about mid-October, October 15th, our average first freeze. So I want to start planting that stuff in like September, early September, the first week of September. Start getting it up and getting it to past the, just the little sprout stage to where it gets established. And then as it starts to cool off, I put those low tunnels over the top of them. Super cheap, super easy to make. And I had spinach that was bolting in February. And February is still 20 degrees out. It's one of our coldest months. And this stuff was going to seed in February. So yeah, you can grow a lot of things in the wintertime. Those little low tunnels help out quite a bit. And a lot of that stuff, if you, spinach, lettuce, all that kind of stuff, it grows pretty quick. So if you plant it about 8 weeks before your last frost date, you can usually get a harvest off of it before your first 6 weeks before your first frost date. You can usually get a harvest off of it before your first frost hits. Now the hard thing you're going to have is getting it to sprout 6 weeks before your first frost date, because here that's still pretty hot, and lettuce and spinach and that kind of stuff doesn't like to sprout in anything over about 80 degrees. So you may have to shade it, put some shade cloth over it, or sprout it inside and then transplant it out to your garden once it's grown up a little bit. We can talk about that in another video at some point if you want to. All right, what do you got? Baron Thyssen says you've got Tennessee red bobs and jumbo bobs. I'm assuming you mean bobwhite quail. We used to have a ton of bobwhite quail in the wild around here, and they've kind of died off. You just don't see very many of them. They're starting to make a little bit of a comeback, but around here I think you have to have a permit to raise bobwhites because they're a native bird. But interesting, I'd like to see them actually. All right, do I know much of duck care? Oh, this is Baron Thyssen again asking if I know much about duck care. I know a little bit about ducks. I've been researching them quite a bit. I don't raise ducks permanently. I had ducks when I was much, much younger for a short while, and I'm thinking about getting back into ducks. So if you have some specific questions on ducks, I might be able to answer them for you, and if I can't, I can find the answer and get back to you for sure. Yeah, Isabel's got it right. Isabel, Miss Izzy, says ducks are as easy as any other bird, except they are super messy. And that is the thing with ducks. They are super messy. One thing I will tell you about ducks is the kind of the misconception is everybody thinks they need a big swimming pool for them. You don't. Ducks don't need to swim. It's nice. It's good to have something for them to swim in every once in a while. But really all they need to be able to do is to get their head wet. As long as they can get their whole head wet, they're fine. But they do need to be able to get their whole head underwater. So you need like deep water pans for them to be able to get in. And they'll get in there and shake their head into there. That's how they clean out their bill and stuff like that. And they need to be able to do that. They don't have to have water to swim in though. Most ducks too, the thing I like about ducks is, first of all, they're not as noisy as chickens are. Especially you can have a male, a drake, whereas in the city having a rooster to make fertile chicken eggs is kind of a no-no. Can't do that. The other things about ducks is they're a little bit easier to keep pinned in. You can usually, if you get the right breeds, keep them pinned in within about a 4-foot tall fence. You can go pretty cheap, easy fencing to keep them pinned in, and you don't have to worry about quite as big of like chicken coops for these guys. They just need a little duck house, something to get in, to get out of the weather and that kind of stuff. They don't really roost like chickens do, so you don't have to go big, tall chicken coops, give them roosting places and all that kind of stuff. There are some benefits to having ducks. To each his own, really. But you're right, they are super messy, so if you keep them in a small area, or if you just let them run about in your backyard, you're going to regret it, because they're going to get up on your back porch here, and it's going to be a total mess. You're going to have to clean out small areas quite a bit. So I plan on either fencing a big area for them, or doing like a moving pen where I move them around my backyard. I own that whole lot back there. You guys can't see it on this video, but I own a whole lot right behind my house and the one right next to it. So I have quite a bit of room that I can just move them around kind of tractor style. All right, what do I do? Oh, hang on, let's go back. 6 Count Family says you live in South Texas and it's been in the triple digits. Yeah, it has been in Southwest Missouri too. Other than providing shade and water, do I need to worry about the heat in the quail? Should I add frozen water bottles? You know, I don't think so. I think I've got 2 ideas on that. One is with my rabbits. When I first got into rabbits years ago, I was worried about the heat, because that's what you read about. Oh, rabbits in the heat, horrible, horrible, right? And they do struggle in the heat. And I read about, you've got to put fans on them, you've got to put frozen water bottles on them. You know what? They didn't use the frozen water bottles. I put them in there, and I had a couple of them that go up and kind of nose it, lick it maybe a little bit, but they didn't lay on it. They didn't lay next to it. I don't think it did any good for them. It was a lot of work for me. I find that if you just leave them to the elements, keep them out of the sun, keep them in full shade where there's never direct sun directly on their hutch, and they do just fine. I'm talking about the quail now. They seem to do just fine. And I also think that that kind of helps breed, you know, if I lose a quail, I haven't, but if I lose a quail from the heat, my thought is that takes it out of the gene pool. I'm not passing those genes on. The genes that I am passing on are ones for quail that are a little bit more heat tolerant. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's my thought about it. And just so you know, 6 Count Family, like I said, I lived in deep East Texas, Nacogdoches, for about 7-8 years, and it gets just as hot here in Southwest Missouri. I had people in Texas all the time. They'd come out when it was 100 degrees, and they'd say, "Oh man, I bet you wish you were back in Missouri today." And I'd say, "Heck no, man, it's hotter there than it is here today." I'd show them the temperature on the you know, the weather app. "Look, it's 102 there today." "Oh well, yeah, but you guys don't have the humidity." Then I'd show them that. "Look, 86% humidity." Yes, we do. I don't know, people in Texas think that it's all so different in Texas, and there are some things there that are different, but it's not that much different. It's just as hot as it is here. Now, I will tell you what is different, is it stays hotter longer in Texas. You don't have the winter that we have. And I'm not insulting Texas. I liked Texas. Just don't get offended. Sorry if you... every time I say something about Texas, it can be construed badly. Seems like people get upset. I liked Texas. It was a great place. But yeah, the grass is always greener. Who's this? In San Antonio. I've been to San Antonio. Fantastic place. I like the Riverwalk quite a bit. Went to the Alamo, and my first thought was, this is it? This is all there is to it? It's way smaller than what I expected. But San Antonio's a really cool place. If you ever get a chance to visit and you haven't, it's a nice place to visit. Go check it out. All right. Yeah, plenty of water is all the time is what you're saying, Isabel. I think that's about ducks, right? Yeah, you said earlier, ducks, this is Isabel, Miss Izzy, says ducks are easy, another bird. Then you're responding to my comment, you said, yeah, they need plenty of water all the time, and they are so cute from baby to adult. Yeah, that's what's one of the great things. I think chickens are cute, I think quail are cute, rabbits, I think cows are cute, so, you know, I think they're all kind of cute myself. But ducks do kind of have a special charm, the way they kind of waddle around. And they get pretty friendly. They'll attach to you, and they'll come to where they'll follow you around and come up to you. And I don't know. I kind of like the ducks, but again, I kind of like chickens too. No, I don't have chickens. This is Juliet Mallet asking me. No, I don't have chickens. I have kept chickens before. My neighbor, well, doesn't anymore. She had chickens till a raccoon came by and got all her chickens. So I know a little bit about chickens, but no, I don't have any chickens right now. Living in town, I've got to kind of limit what I can do. I might be pushing it by adding a couple of ducks to what I'm doing right now. But so far, none of my neighbors are complaining. They're all fine with it. So as long as nobody complains, I don't think I'm going to have any problems. All right. Tim Trevette. How many make a good flock? How many what? How many ducks make a good flock? Is that what you're asking about? Hopefully that's what you're asking about. Honestly, you know, with ducks, you don't need that many. 3 is fine. I wouldn't keep them in anything less than 2 or 3 ducks though. At least 3 together. They do need a little bit of partnership, companionship, but they don't need a lot. They don't need great big flocks of birds or anything like that. Somebody else, this is Gabby Rico, is in the Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth area. Super hot there. Yeah, I have a friend named Gabby that lives in Dallas-Fort Worth. Not the same person, I'm sure, but it is hot there for sure. You're south of Montreal. This is Isabel, Miss Izzy. Montreal, Canada, I guess. Never been that far. Well, I shouldn't say that. I was born in Battle Creek, Michigan, so I have been quite a ways north, but we moved back to Missouri. My parents are both from Missouri. They moved to Michigan, had 2 kids, moved back. I was 2 years old when we moved back to Missouri, so I vaguely remember Michigan. You keep, okay, this is Tim Elbert saying you keep shade cloth over your bunny cages so that the roof of their hutch is not getting hit by direct sunlight and then radiating heat to them. It helps a lot. Yeah, always try to keep my hutches in shade, never direct sunlight right on the hutches. That is something that I would definitely suggest. Good point. Tim Trevette, you're talking about quail with how many make a good flock. You know, again, it doesn't really matter. I would say, 4 females and a male would be kind of the bare minimum. You could do 3 females and a male. That would kind of be the bare minimum of what you'd want to have if you want to have fertile eggs. If you just want eggs, just to eat eggs, then just 2 or 3 females are fine. I would like to keep them in at least pairs, not just single birds by themselves. Sorry, I got to check the weather real quick, make sure. And we've got some cloud cover coming in, but it looks fine. Okay, so quail, don't keep them solo. They are kind of communal birds. You want at least 2, but anything 2 or more is fine for quail. Hopefully that answers the question. And Hiram Patel says, hi. Hello, Hiram. Hopefully I got your name right. All right, guys, we're going on 46 minutes on this chat. I'm going to have to start wrapping it up here pretty quick. Anything before we get out of here, one last thing or one last question you guys want to ask, go for it now because I'm going to be signing off here in about 2-3 minutes. What do we got? And you can always come back and comment on this video afterwards. I follow up, and you guys know, if you've been following my channel for any amount of time, you know I answer pretty much every comment that comes in. If I miss your comment, don't be offended by that. It's not because I just ignored you. It's because I didn't see it for some reason. Sometimes they do sneak by me. How many animals do I have? Oh boy, I don't know. I've got the quail and the rabbits right now, and that's it. I don't have a dog anymore because my dog died. She got old. She passed away this last summer. But I have somewhere around 30 quail right now. I'm due to start thinning out some males. I've got 60 some odd eggs in the incubator right now, and I've got the 3 rabbits. That's all the animals I have right now. Hiram Patel, you want to know if I'm planning on updating on YouTube every single birth of rabbits. Well, Hiram, I don't really do vlog style videos necessarily, but I do more informational style. So I try to pick a topic that needs to be covered and get that covered. And if it has something to do with baby rabbits, and I've got baby rabbits at the time, then yeah. Other than that, I do rabbit videos every single week, and I shoot right in front of my rabbit hutch. So if I've got baby rabbits there, then chances are you're probably going to see them whenever I have baby rabbits, or I'm going to at least talk about them. You'll know about it, because I do a weekly update every week. All right. What water system for quail do you use in the winter? In the wintertime, I just switch over to bowls. I actually use same thing I use for their feeders. It's just like a Ziploc, or not a Ziploc, a Glad brand container, just a plastic container, and I cut holes in it so they can get their heads through it. And I just put water in the bottom of those. The water freezes pretty quick, but they come to it and drink as soon as I put it in, get their fill, and then I try to empty that out and put a new one in full of water at the end of the day, and then do it again before I go to bed at night so they get plenty of water to drink throughout the day. That's kind of what I do. I've done some videos on that in the past. With winter coming up, I'll probably address it again in a video coming up. So stick around for that, and we'll get it addressed when wintertime hits. All right. Thank you very much, Isabel. You have a great night, too. Thank you for joining this. Thank you guys all for joining this. I'm having a hard time answering questions. I know I said I was going to. M&K Meadow Homestead said, does a quail hutch such as yours provide enough protection for a northern Wisconsin winter? You know, I think so. It gives them a place to get out of the wind, and that's really what they need, get out of the wind. I do have a sandbox, a pretty big sandbox, so they don't even get updrafts through it. And I have a cover over the top, which is just a feed sack stapled down so they don't get the drafts down on the top. Provides plenty enough for here, but this isn't nearly as brutal as a Wisconsin winter. Try it out and see. My experience, they're pretty cold hardy birds, and they are known as Japanese quail. Japan gets pretty darn cold. They've been domesticated for a long time, so I think they're going to be pretty fine as long as you give them some place to get out of the wind. All right. Thank you very much for the kind comments. A couple of people saying I'm doing great, thanking me. How old can quail get? I just addressed that in a video last week, so check that out about when do you need to replace your quail. I talked about how often you need to replace them. Check out Monday night's video, this last Monday, and you'll get that answer. Oh, don't worry, I didn't even notice you spelled answered wrong, and I probably spelled it worse. Well, thank you guys so much. These you guys saying you appreciate the content, you love it. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you more than you'd ever know. I'm loving this new live video. I love interacting with my viewers one-on-one. This is a great time. I'm hoping to see this kind of progress into something maybe a little more. Hopefully it's beneficial for you guys as viewers. Hopefully it's something that you enjoy as well. And if I didn't get your comment answered today, sorry. I can only do so much. I did my best to get them all answered, but I got to sign off here, guys. I got a wife in there that I need to go spend some time with before bed. I've been at work all day and haven't got to see her much today. So thank you guys so much for watching these videos. And, oh, somebody says I should start Patreon. I did start Patreon, but I didn't really get anything off of that. Nobody really paid attention to it. Nobody went on to it, so I kind of let that fall off. But there is a Patreon account out there for Slightly Rednecked. If you guys go check it out, if I get people signing up, I'll jump back in there and start doing the Patreon stuff again as well. I haven't done that before much. I tried to keep up with it, had one person sign up, and that was it. So anyway, gotta go. You guys keep talking to me, and I keep talking back. Thank you guys for watching this video. As always, God bless. Take care, and I'll talk to you guys later.